Welcome. You're listening to Sports Econ 101, the show where we discuss sports topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, Russell Jackman. At each commercial break, we're going to ask a sports trivia question. Today is NFL helmets through the years. Because we're getting into the playoffs
Not
here.
as exciting a topic as I thought we'd be talking about.
I know. Every once in a while, I got to throw something in like this rather than just all NBA stuff, which I know you love. We definitely have to cover some football because the football season is going to be it's heating up now that we have the last game of the season, and now we figured out who's in and who's not. Holy smokes, the Jaguars! What happened to them?
The Jaguars happened to the Jaguars.
Oh, okay. Well, that answers that. I mean, what a collapse! What was their how many losses in a row do they have, or just I'm not even sure if it's that versus just like didn't they start off like really really well?
Yeah, but the Steelers, kept plugging away at it. The Steelers never gave up. And after losing that first game to the 49ers where they looked absolutely horrible, the Steelers only lost 5 other games for the rest of the season. And
Trevor Lawrence, he had that really bad looking ankle sprain, which looked like he came back, but those things linger. And I think that has something to do with it too.
I actually did not think you'd start off with the Jaguars, though. I didn't think that would be your leading topic. I thought it would be.
Well, I just because I said football, we're at the end of the regular season.
We're at the real end of the college season.
That's true,
and I thought that would be your leading topic for today.
Yeah, I picked Michigan over Washington. I thought the score was going to be 38-24. That they were going to win. So I should have bet on Michigan because I think they're only a touchdown favorite. All right. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. Don't touch that dial. We are going to be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Russell Jackman. All right. What do you want to cover first? You want to cover Michigan football?
Yeah, let's do that. I mean, not that it's going to be easy to live with Harbaugh after, now that he's god of college football. God.
That was going to be my question. Is, do you think he's headed back to the pros?
My question would be why. He has nothing. He's not going to win a Super Bowl. Let's say he goes to, one of these terrible teams that is desperate now for a coach. Atlanta. Raiders, Chargers, probably soon to be New England, the Washington, if he goes to any of those places, it's going to be a decade before any of those teams are good enough to win a Super Bowl, if that. Some of them are such toxically bad organizations like the Raiders and the Chargers that I don't. You could get, I think, George Halas or Bear Bryant in their early years, and they couldn't make those teams into winners.
So, and Harbaugh makes what, $5 million a year or more?
But he's on target to make maybe 25 a year.
Wow.
That's
hard to pass up.
That's what Michigan wants to throw at him.
Yeah. Plus, the thing is, he's already been in the pros, as not only as a player, but, coach of the 49ers with a disastrous Super Bowl, which I'm still very upset of how he coached the end of that game. And so, he hasn't won the Super Bowl, but, I could see him staying around. He probably likes Michigan. Just he needs to just not get suspended anymore.
Yeah. It does take the adage that winners never cheat and cheaters never win. And that now is right out the door. Cheaters do win, and winners do cheat, because that's what Michigan is.
Well, and it reminds me of like all the steroid use and all that. It's like guys do steroids, they go ahead and put up, like in baseball, put up fantastic numbers, get a big contract for 25 million, 30 million a year or whatever, and then oops. Oh, okay. I juiced, and so now what? They don't come back after the money, right? So do they take some of the records away or all that? It's like, I don't know. That you're right. It's too much of an incentive to cheat.
I know, and it was proven that Michigan cheated, this year to win a
Oh,
title,
yeah.
and I think they should have been disqualified from actually being in the national championship game. Plus, the other thing that's sad is that the Pac-12, dies with a whimper and
Yeah.
a whine. It, dies
Well,
with.
well, I was going to say for recruiting purposes, haven't there been teams that have been disqualified from playing in bowl games, etc.?
Oh,
I think
sure, but
so.
the,
Yeah.
the, the championship series wanted, the two undefeated teams in there, and they don't care how they got there. They just wanted two undefeated teams, and it's but the game wasn't that competitive. It wasn't very
Yeah.
interesting. I didn't find it very interesting. I guess if you're a Michigan fan, you would be, but it's it. I think it sends a bad message to college that if do whatever you can,
Worry about the circumstances later,
yeah,
right?
lose if you have no option, win if you must, but always cheat.
Yeah.
That was.
Well, you know what's interesting? I don't know if I've ever brought this up. I know I brought it up on the show years ago, but I don't know if you'd ever heard this. There was a study done where they asked Olympians, and they said, guys who were like going out for the Olympics, and they said, okay, here's the thing. We're going to ask you a hypothetical question. If we could give you a pill that would guarantee that you would win a gold medal in your sport, but here's the catch. We also guarantee that you'll be dead in 5 years because of it.
They still would take it.
Like 95% of them said that they would. I mean, that is just scary that people put that kind of emphasis on winning.
Yeah, that's why we're here. I mean, we wouldn't have this show if people didn't, value winning over, money and anything else. I mean, that,
Of course we would. Everybody loves sports econ 101.
Yeah.
Come on, Ross.
We're the winning formula.
That's right. So okay, let's move on here. So the United Football League, a merger of the USFL, which is kind of weird because it was the USFL many
and
years
the
ago.
XFL.
And the
What
XFL,
could possibly
yes.
go wrong?
No, exactly. And it's starting in March of 2024. I'm trying to think, how good were these leagues when they were separate?
Terrible. Okay. Did you watch a single game?
No.
There you go. And we're sports guys. If we won't watch it, if you or I won't watch it, then good luck on getting John Q. Public to watch any of these. Oh,
yep. You okay?
Yeah, are you okay? I just disappeared off of my screen for a second.
I got rid of that other person.
Okay, good.
But okay, but for some reason I'm still hearing a little bit of feedback.
I'm still here. But yeah,
Okay.
Good luck on getting John Q. Public to watch it. The XFL was terrible and nobody cared about it. And Vince McMahon, wasted hundreds of millions of dollars on it, and it went nowhere. And the US.
Well, it's funny. I think the theory was that everybody loves football all year round or whatever.
But they don't.
But they don't. That's the thing. Is there's something special about having it in the fall and the winter time, and when you get into the spring and summer, it's just like, no, we got to move on to finishing up basketball and getting into baseball season.
And it's like saying everyone loves hamburgers. Well, yes, they do, but the hamburger has to be of some value. Has to be. You can't just have you ever had like those hamburgers in the high school cafeterias that are like 1% beef and like 99% something else, cardboard or something. It's you can't just serve America something that it knows is an inferior product and say, go love it because it's football. America doesn't.
Now, are you going to get another Kurt Warner situation, though? I mean, he came from arena football, and he made it. But it's funny. I wonder. I'm wondering why he's in the Hall of Fame, though. I mean, he was good, but I don't think he was Hall of Fame material. Do you?
Well, the greatest show on turf which was in that early 2000s, area, got a lot of yardage. They put up a ton of stats for a short period of time. And I think the fact that he went from bagging groceries to a Super Bowl win
Yeah.
put
Well,
him.
and also really quickly before we go to break, it's funny, and a lot of people they sort of just don't think about this anymore. But do you remember when he got traded to the Cardinals and they went to the Super Bowl and they lost to Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
And if the difference in that game from a points standpoint had to do with the very last play of the first half where he throws an interception, and instead of someone pushing him out of bounds, I can't remember which Steeler it was, he ran it back for a touchdown. And it was like such kind of like okay, well, this happened, and that was really the difference in the points. And a lot of people don't totally brush that off, but these certain plays are just like crazy important.
I will tell you that was one of the few Super Bowls I paid so little attention to.
Yeah, I know. I remember I was on vacation. I just kind of tuned in.
I did not care who won that one.
Okay, you know what? And just for you, I got some easier questions for you because we love you, Russell. How's that?
I don't think there's a corresponding relationship between the questions you ask me and how much you like me.
Well, that's true, but I don't like to ask you questions from the 1400s. You don't like those?
Yes,
kind of
you
sports
do.
questions.
Yes, you do.
Okay, I do every once in a while. Golf from the 1400s.
Yes.
Okay, here's our first commercial break trivia question. We're talking about NFL helmets. In 2008, which was the only NFL team whose helmet did not feature any kind of logo? In 2008, which was the only NFL team whose helmet did not feature any kind of logo? All right, think carefully on that before you answer, and don't touch that dial. Sports Econ 101 will be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown along with Russell Jackman. Our first trivia question talking about NFL helmets. In 2008, which was the only NFL team whose helmet did not feature any kind of logo?
Well, I think it never has any logo, and that's the Browns, right?
That's correct. I was hoping to play a trick. I was hoping to trick you into thinking it was a trick question.
Many years ago, didn't they have the word Browns on the side of the helmet? Just the word Browns.
The Bengals did. I don't know if the Browns ever did, but you go back to the early days, and
the word Browns on there. But yeah, they never have.
They might have at one point. I'd have to kind of look at that.
But and I also wanted to report that this was the first time on Sunday I went to go see the 49ers at Levi Stadium. It was the first time I'd been to Levi Stadium.
How do you like it?
Well, it's expensive. That's the first. If we're talking about Sports Econ 101, boy, going back to the last time I'd been to a football game was again the 49ers were playing in 2012. Okay. So it was been over a decade since I've been to a football game.
Well, okay, are you ready for this? The only football game I've actually gone to in person, a pro football game, was the Oakland Raiders versus the Cincinnati Bengals in 1970. It was like the first year of Monday Night Football.
You should probably go to a game at Levi Stadium. You should
That's a far drive for us. I mean, especially for you.
It is
really far.
I got up at 9 o'clock. I got up at 8:30 on Sunday, which I never do. I got in the car to drive down at 9 o'clock. I got there at 10 to my friend's place in Burlingame at 10:30, and we took the car together. Got down like about 11:30 to the park. Spent a couple hours before walking around the stadium and all that stuff. And I did not get home till 7, a little bit after 7 o'clock.
Wow,
that's like a long 9 to 7 type day. And I live here in the Bay Area, so you can imagine.
How'd you get the tickets?
My friend owed me from
Good.
I won a case for him that he thought would never be winnable, and he said, "If you win this case, I'll take you to the 49ers game." And
So is
so
he's a season ticket holder, or
no, but he lives in Burlingame, so he can go. He
that's not
goes
too
to
far?
couple
Yeah.
games a season. It's really, I mean,
So how
to
much?
get season tickets at Levi's is extraordinarily expensive now, and
So yeah, if you would have had to pay, or how much did he pay for the tickets?
well, that's the other thing too. Is thanks to dynamic pricing, he bought the tickets when we thought that it would be an important game, and then it wound up being, meaningless in the
Yeah.
statistically. So I think he paid a couple $100s for each seat, but then he found other seats for some other friends of his for like $100 each. So,
That's
they
not. And where did you sit?
on the 20-yard line, but
And how far up?
in the on the lower deck, so that was pretty nice. I mean, those
That's
were
that's actually not. That's not that expensive. I mean, I know like seeing a Warrior game when they were in Oakland. I mean, those tickets for the decent tickets are now like $700 or $900 a pop.
but let's play guess the price, okay? First of all, how much for parking?
$75.
Yeah, $70.
Gee, that's
And
just ridiculous.
we had to park like 6 blocks away, so we still had to walk a pretty good distance to get to the stadium from there. And then how much? Okay, here's another sports econ trivia question for you. All right, lunch was. I paid for lunch because my friend paid for everything else.
Sure.
So
$30,
so
$30 a person.
that's pretty close. That's pretty
Really?
close. I mean, the two hot dogs, two Polish
Yeah.
sausages,
Yeah.
nachos, popcorn, one beer, one soda, $67.
Gee, that reminds me of these people who are posting that they're going to McDonald's and it's like costing $16 for a hamburger.
I know.
You
So in
know?
that sense, it's maybe not so bad. Maybe I
Yeah.
got off better than going to one of those captive on, like if you go to McDonald's at an airport or something like that. Yeah, it's going to wind up
Yeah.
costing you something like that because
Sure.
you're a captive audience.
Exactly. How good was the food? I mean, Polish sausage is going to be a Polish sausage, but
Exactly. It just was a Polish, starving and everyone around is eating like crazy.
yeah,
Basically having an NFL stadium is a license to print your own money. I mean,
yeah,
people are throwing money around there like the economy was going to be just over with
yeah.
tomorrow.
Well, in the end, you're not allowed to bring in your own food, right?
I don't think you are,
Yeah,
but I mean, like the team store that we went to the team store to buy some souvenirs,
yeah.
and that place was just a crowded, packed up zoo where
Well, with the Niners doing as well as they are, a
yeah,
lot of
people
Brock
were just
Purdy
throwing
stuff.
money. I mean, people were just throwing money for $100 hooded sweatshirts and those stupid like plastic chains that you have. That's the biggest thing now is that you have like the big gangsta chains that you wear, and like the big circular plate that's got the Niners logo on it. How much
Oh
for
yeah,
that? All plastic. How much for that?
$55.
You're actually pretty good at
What?
this game. It was $40.
Really? Yeah. Well, okay, I overdid it,
Forty
but
bucks
yeah,
for literally like a $3
that's
worth of
amazing. That's
plastic.
incredible. But the ones that crack me up are the ones that have their hats, but they look like a Super Bowl ring.
Yeah,
Those things, those things crack me up.
yeah. Again, all of that stuff was just incredibly expensive, and if you
Uh,
wait a couple weeks after the Super Bowl, even if the Niners win it, most of that stuff is going to be on sale for half price. But
or go to Amazon for a knockoff.
yeah, exactly. Or eBay. Yeah, that kind of thing. And
Yeah.
I'll say one other thing. Out of the 50,000 people that were there, probably 30,000 of them had jerseys on.
Yeah.
And who do you think was the number one jersey?
Kittle.
Yeah. Yeah,
was that right?
yeah, a lot of McCaffrey jerseys,
Yeah,
but I
I
would
can see
still
that
say
too.
that Kittle led and I was the only person in the entire arena with a Michael Crabtree jersey. I was the only one with a number 15.
As you say,
Someone gave me a
who
Michael
else?
Crabtree jersey as a gift years ago, and I wear it when I go watch 49er games. So it's my
So wait,
lucky.
wait a minute. You didn't wear your Bob St. Clair one?
I do not have a Bob St. I have two jerseys. I have one from Michael Crabtree that my friend gave me. And I have another jersey that was worn by Richard Sherman
Oh,
just once for a commercial. And then my
oh, that's
client
so fun.
does wardrobe for commercials, and it's a computer client. And the computer client gave me this jersey that it was worn once by Richard Sherman, and that one I
Did he
won't
sign
wear.
it?
That
Did,
one is in a closet, and it's only been worn once. It's only been worn by Richard Sherman, so I'm saving that.
did he sign it?
No, he didn't. So
Oh,
there's no way to authenticate it, and I can't
uh,
prove that it was
we have to
unless
you'll have
my.
to find him and get it
But it
authentic.
still means something to me because I know it was worn by him. So
There you go. Okay, there you go. It's funny. I don't know if you know this, but we actually had Bob St. Clair on, years ago on the show. He died about 2 or 3 years ago or so. But he played in the 40s and 50s, and guy was a tough dude. He would he didn't have the face mask, right, because he played
whoa,
before that. Yeah, and then guys get their teeth kicked in, and
leather
before
helmets,
games.
right?
Yeah, exactly. And he would, uh, well, I think no, I think at some point he had a plastic helmet, or the harder one, but there's still no face mask, and he would eat like a raw steak before a meal, and it's funny because I asked him, I said, so Bob, how do you think that you'd play against today's guys? And he goes, they're a bunch of candy blanks. I'd like to see if they can play with me.
Every generation thinks that, though.
I
They
know,
always
I
think
know.
that they're
I mean, yeah,
tougher
he
than.
did come from a tough generation because, I mean, if you look at games back then, I mean, they just kept tackling and tackling, and even guys out of bounds, they'd still tackle them, and where we
Well,
used
that's
to
why they had to
tackle.
make all the rules to stop that
Yeah,
stuff. Because
exactly. And,
everyone's
and
getting
I'm
hurt.
kind of glad they did in one respect because, you see your favorite player get hurt, and it's like, okay, well, this isn't fun anymore. Okay, you ready?
Well, and
You
when you're
ready for us?
spending, $250 million on them, yeah, that you're not going to want
Yeah,
them on the
exactly.
sideline.
Or in your case, $200 to go to watch him play. Okay,
Exactly.
that's the most important thing. Okay, so here's our second trivia question. Prior to their becoming the Tennessee Titans in the late 1990s, what logo was on the helmets of the team that became the Tennessee Titans? All right, that's our trivia question. You understand the question?
Yep.
Okay. All right, stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. Don't touch that dial. We are going to be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. One more time, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Russell Jackman. Our second trivia question. Prior to their becoming the Tennessee Titans in the late 1990s, what logo was on the helmet of the team that became them?
Well, it was my favorite. For a non-49er team, it's my favorite fight song, which is,
Houston Oilers. Houston,
Houston Oilers,
Houston
Houston
Oilers
Oilers
#1.
#1. Yeah, it's
Damn that
Oil
thing. I thought
Derek.
that was so goofy. That was
It
so
was,
goofy.
but it's still. There's also the Chargers theme, the San Diego Superchargers, Superchargers.
Actually, I don't know that one, but
You'll have to look that up on YouTube. It's pretty.
I will.
It's
Okay,
very
so
70s disco era type stuff.
gotcha. Hey, by the way, after we answer the question, I tried to look up David Robinson playing piano. I couldn't find him on
Wow, I'll
YouTube.
have to find something for you.
Yeah,
that
so find something
shows
and then
the
send it to me.
Admiral.
Okay, so
Yes,
tell me what was the logo on the helmet?
it's the Oil Derrick.
Air oil, an oil rig Derek. Very good. Okay, you are 2 for 2, and I think you'll probably get the next one too. Okay, so we talked about. Okay, what about Tiger Woods finally leaving Nike? Holy smokes! After 26 years or something.
I guess is Tiger Woods still really relevant in your opinion as far as the sports icon goes?
Honestly, not now. Again, arguably one of the greatest
Right,
golfers in
right.
history. But yeah, it's kind of coming to it's sort of like when Willie Mays got traded to the Mets. Slowly that decline happened.
Well,
So
it
same sort
all
of thing.
happened after he got in that car accident,
Hmm.
from his
Which was
wife.
bad. I mean, that really messed up his knee.
Yeah, and his back, and then
His
he,
back. Yeah.
but also before with the whole thing with his wife and getting hit
Yeah.
with golf clubs by her and all that
Yeah.
other stuff. I mean, I was never really a big Tiger fan, although I realized what he did for golf, but I'm not a big golf guy either. I don't
Oh
really.
well, yeah, okay, that makes sense. You know what? I still remember watching him when he was 3 years old on the Mike Douglas show, and watching him hit,
Yeah,
and going, "Holy smokes, man! I can really see why this guy is on the Mike Douglas show." I mean, he is if he stays on track, he's going
but
to
I
be
never
really
liked
good.
that. I didn't like the fact that he was like a programmed human being to like become a golf machine and nothing else. And it showed that he didn't really ever develop as a person. We see that
Oh,
happen with a number of, like let's say, Michael Jackson is a good example of just
oh
someone who
yeah,
was, programmed to be a musician, by his parents.
that's a good example. Yeah,
And another good example
or
is
Tanya Harding skating.
Tonya Harding is a good example of that. The Venus and
Oh
William,
yeah, yeah,
Venus and
that is
Serena
true.
were programmed. I mean, and they turned out okay. But then you also have someone like Todd Marinovich.
Oh yeah. Oh gosh, that bust there. And
Well,
then look at Alonzo Ball and all that, and the way his
yeah,
dad.
not you don't always just because you have a parent that programs your kid to become something doesn't mean that they work. I mean, I don't know if you know the story about Todd Marinovich, but he had never even eaten a Big Mac until he got to college.
Huh?
Like his
It
dad
was because
just had him,
his dad wanted to keep him so healthy and
yeah,
fit and all
and
that.
wanted to program him and make him this perfect football machine. And last I'd heard of him, he was in jail for meth possession.
Oh my
and
gosh.
and he was playing guitar illegally, begging for money on the street, and the
Oh
cops,
my god.
busted him, and they found in his guitar case methamphetamine.
Wow. Yeah, that
So
was definitely one of the bigger busts. I mean, I think even Bernie Kosar had that issue with his parents, specifically his dad. I think, or maybe it was just he just had a very very strained relationship, and these poor kids.
I
I
mean,
mean, it's great
sometimes
that
it
they have
works.
those.
I mean, you look at look at Clay Thompson, and you look at his
Yeah,
brother Trace, and they're very happy and very well adjusted
yeah.
kids,
Well, Steph Curry
players.
too.
Right,
Dell was a great human being. Obviously, a good a good basketball player because he was in the NBA. But he had great parents.
right, right. So it's but I've just been against like and being a parent myself, just that idea of trying to make your kid do something to make you
Yeah.
happy.
Well, let me give you, and you probably don't know this. This actually goes back, and this is more in the acting and TV. But do you remember Jay North, Dennis the Menace?
Yes.
Okay, so apparently he was, I think he was living with his aunt, and I don't know the reason why, but she was so like into the Hollywood situation that she wouldn't even let the co-stars with him like even talk or play with him. She was just like totally like isolating him against everybody. And I mean, can you imagine how sad that would be for a kid like that?
Well, yeah. I mean, you even look at like Britney Spears and what happened
Yeah.
with her parents and the conservatorship they put her under. She was basically a
Well,
slave to her parents.
and go way way back. Okay, so you remember Uncle Fester, Jackie Coogan. So he was a star when he was a kid. In fact, he was the kid in the movie The Kid with Charlie Chaplin, and he's a good little actor. And his parents were so bad with controlling his money that they lost it all, and that's why they came out with a Coogan account. So like
Yeah,
when my son,
yeah, I was gonna say that changed the law about
they
how
changed the
parents.
law. Yeah. So like when my son was doing some acting and he got his, I think he got his SAG card or something like that. I don't know, whatever it was. But we treated him just, hey, you're just a normal kid. You just got lucky getting some of these parts. When he got paid, we had to set up a Coogan account separate, just for him. Nobody could touch it, and it's probably a good thing because a lot. I mean, not for us. We weren't going to screw around with his money, but can you imagine some of these actors and actresses? It's like you work all this hard money, and then someone takes it away from you. Holy
Sure, but
smokes!
then when you have, Britney Spears situation, the parents create a conservatorship and say you're incompetent to be able to handle it yourself and
Yeah.
take away your
Well,
right.
Cher is trying to do that. Cher's trying to do that with her son, but I
Yeah,
think that kind of
yeah, but he
temporarily
also has
overturned.
some major problems that might actually be a good idea in
Yeah, I'm not
Cher's
sure
case.
what with Britney's case. What was it? Her kids or something? That I'm not sure
Yeah, yeah, it
what that
was
was.
her parents basically took her money from her and doled her out just a tiny amount as opposed to keeping most of it for themselves and spending a lot of it on themselves. But
Yeah.
that's always a hazard when you talk about sports stuff, especially when people want to involve 18-year-olds or
Yeah.
even younger kids in sports. I always worry about that, and with the new college rules and now the college
Yeah.
players are getting paid, we may see a lot more lawsuits and situations like that coming up.
Well, that's why I like someone like Madison Bumgarner. When he got married, you know what he gave his wife for
A
a
horse,
wedding? A cow.
cow. That's right.
Not a horse.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a cow. And then I can't remember who else it is, and I think he's a football player, and he makes so much money, but basically he just he drives an old pickup truck, and he just lives very simply. You gotta love that. Hey, moving on here. So Russell Wilson, do you think he's going to be let go from the Broncos and have them use their number 12 pick to pick up a QB? What do you think's going to? Because he's owed 85 million or
I
something.
know they're kind of stuck with him. I mean, I think they'll keep him on the roster, but they will draft another quarterback and try to transition out from. I mean, that was just there have been some huge profile
Well,
mistakes, like whether you
yeah.
talk about Baker, you talk about Jameis not with Jameis Winston,
Oh,
Deshaun Watson. Deshaun
oh yeah,
Watson. You look at the fact that the Browns are paying him like $250 million, and instead
yeah,
they have Joe Flacco,
yeah.
guiding them to a much better season than they would have ever
So
gotten.
yeah, and that's the thing is, I guess it seemed like as soon as Deshaun Watson had his legal troubles, that seemed to kind of. I mean, you got to think that's got to get in your head.
It obviously did. I mean, but he also was kind of, in that Johnny Manziel sort of thing where the
Mm.
hype preceded him actually doing anything in the NFL, and he never accomplished anything in the NFL, and people wanted
Well,
to, went crazy over him.
I mean, he was. I don't know. I liked watching him. I thought he was talented. He kind of reminded me of Lamar Jackson.
But not, $250 million worth of impression.
No,
You know,
nobody's worth $250
Well,
worth.
you would if you won something, but if you didn't, and look, talk to Shohei Ohtani if you want to talk about,
Yeah,
not actually
yeah.
accomplishing
I mean,
something and still getting, $1
listen,
billion.
God bless him and all that, but I just don't see anybody worth that. It's funny. We used to tease about this on the air when they had the royal wedding for in England, and we were talking about this actually on the sports show where we said, how do we, or actually maybe it's the other show I do, but it's like, why do the royals get paid so much? And then you realize that they actually bring tourism in, so they technically they do earn their money just because people go to England to go
The
see,
spectacle.
Buckingham. Yeah, exactly. And maybe that's the whole thing about being like an influencer or a YouTube star. If you get that many video hits, then you can go ahead and
Write
get
your own
sponsors.
check.
Yeah, because people are going to, companies are going to go, wow, you get a million people watching your videos. Okay, well, it's worth paying you to be on your show, advertising, because people are going to click on it, even if it's clickbait or whatever.
I think one day we're gonna wake up and realize that like paying these influencers what they're getting paid and people that
It's not worth
have
it.
their own YouTube channels and stuff like that
Yeah.
is a total waste of money.
Yep.
And these people
I
will
agree.
suddenly find out that they're the whalebone corset makers of modern society.
Or buggy whips.
Yeah, buggy whips, and we don't need
Whale.
these people.
Boy, I hadn't heard that term. Whalebone corset makers. Holy smokes!
Yes.
Where'd you get that one from?
I keep these things, as a wrestling commentator. I have obscure references like that I throw out on when I'm doing commentary in wrestling, and I'm beloved for that. So that just comes with, it's part of the territory. It comes with the territory.
It's funny, right? There's all these like old things. I remember I was in France on a bus tour, and I made the bus driver laugh because I said, "Chocolat bleu," and he just cracked up. I said, "What are you laughing at?" He goes, "We haven't used that term since the Middle Ages."
Oh, okay, very good.
Okay, you ready for our last?
Yeah, speaking of Middle Ages, I'm sure you've got a trivia question for me coming from
Yes. Okay. Here's a Middle Ages question for you.
1200s.
Okay. Yes, the Atlanta Falcons wore a black helmet in 2008 with a black and red Falcon logo. What were the shells of their helmets prior to 1990? What color were the shells of their helmets? Meaning the outside of the shell, right? Of the helmets prior to 1990, the Atlanta Falcons. And actually, a friend of mine played for them. He was a wide receiver in the early 80s. In fact, it was kind of fun. He was actually the guy who tipped the ball to Billy White Shoes Johnson against the 49ers from that famous Steve Bartkowski play. Number 82, Stacey Bailey. All right, stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. Don't touch that dial. We're going to be back with some closing comments. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Russell Jackman. Our third trivia question, the Atlanta Falcons. They wore a black helmet in 2008 with a black and red Falcon logo. But prior to 1990, what color were the shells of the helmets?
I'm going to guess red.
Yes. Holy smokes, you are 3 for 3. I bow down to you. I'm not worthy. That was good.
Well, no, the last one's a pretty decent question. So, but I appreciate it. It makes up for all the times I give you a blank stare when you ask me the baseball trivia stuff.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I figured we had to kind of boost your ego a little bit. So this week, I guess the Niners have a bye, huh? Isn't that right? Because Russell, you there? Did we lose you? Holy smokes! I see your guest, but I don't hear anything. So with that. I'm gonna do our thoughts for the day. Hopefully, you're still listening, Russell. So my new year. Oh, there you go. I kind of lost you there for a second. Okay, if you're ready for our thoughts for the day, here we go. So my New Year's resolution is to see my cup full or half full. Like an optimist. My cup half full, preferably with tequila, rum, gin, or vodka. And just kidding, I'm not a big drinker. And I love how in horror movies, the person will ask, "Is anyone there?" As if the killer would say, "Oh yeah, I'm in the kitchen. Want a sandwich?"
Sure, and then as they run away, they trip. As they run away from the killer,
of course,
they always fall down.
Yes,
no matter what.
Yes, that's right. All right, and the Niners have a bye this week. Is that correct?
That is correct, but there'll be incredible games on Saturday and Sunday. I'm gonna take Detroit over LA. I'm gonna take Dallas over Green Bay. I'm gonna take let's see. I'm trying to think who else. I think the Eagles.
I'll tell you what, think about that some more. Okay. Tune in next week to Sports Econ 101. We'll be discussing sports topics from a business perspective and asking more sports trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown. We'll see you next week.
Adios.
So long.